What's up, mountain lifers? Just a heads up that this week's show contains a couple of instances of profanity. Nothing too bad, but I wanted to flag it. On the other hand, the odd cuss word is to be expected if you're getting chewed on by a grizzly bear.
Well, all right, kiddos, it's time to sharpen up those edges and grease up your chains. We are going to live it up with mountain life. Dropping in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What are you afraid of, mountain lifers? Out there in the wild, there's weather and fate and risky terrain. There's poor luck and bad decisions. I heard there are murders, plural, every year on the Appalachian Trail. But many of these things can be foreseen, forecast, and planned for, prepared for. And then there are the unknowns, the unpredictables, and the things that bite and sting. The things that go bump in the night, snakes and spiders and scorpions and lion's mane jellyfish, cougars and sharks and bears, oh my. Some of these things can be planned for as well, protected against in the best ways we can. But as we push deeper into the wild and more people do the pushing, the likelihood of an animal encounter increases. It's a big world out there, but not that big. And sometimes the wilderness pushes back. Today we have author and outdoorsman Jeremy Evans on the show talking about his new book, Mauled, Lessons Learned from a Grizzly Bear Attack. And you don't want to miss this one. But first, let's talk about our Live It Up partners, Jack Wolfskin, makers of sustainable outdoor clothing, gear, and footwear. Hey mountain lifers, do you know about Jack Wolfskin? For almost 40 years, the Jack Wolfskin name and paw print have been a symbol of their trailblazing spirit and regard for nature. Inspired by an expedition in northern Canada in 1981, they have led the pack with innovative, eco-conscious technologies, a commitment to social responsibility, and forward-thinking outdoor apparel and equipment designs. If you haven't seen the Jack Wolfskin paw print before, it's because they've only just completed their newest den here in North America. Jack Wolfskin will see you in the wild, wherever that is for you. While I have you, I also want to give a shout out to the Mountain Life online store. It's too late for you to get anything in time for Christmas, but if you're out of ideas or time, you can always hit up the Mountain Life shop, print off a picture of something that will arrive in the mail soon, put it in a card, and give that. The new Adventure Series t-shirts are up there with cool graphics from Maddie Saez, simple graphics for every season, every sport. There's also the super popular Scotty mug, the camping mug, hats, sweatshirts, wall art, and more. If you want to show the world you're down with the Mountain Life Posse, this is the online store for you. There's a link on our website, mountainlifemedia.ca. Okay, today's guest, Jeremy Evans, a lifelong hunter, fisherman, and outdoorsman from Alberta who ended up on the wrong end of a grizzly bear encounter back in August of 2017. Attacked multiple times, Jeremy suffered massive injuries to his head, his face, his hands, his arms, and the tendons of one leg were totally severed. I think I'm probably supposed to say trigger warning here because Jeremy gets into detail on some of those injuries, and it's pretty violent and it's pretty brutal, and maybe not everybody can handle that. But if you can, like Jeremy did, he dragged himself out of the bush a crazy far distance, and with the help of some incredible rescue and medical staff, he recovered and lived to hunt and fish another day, and to co-write a book about the experiences and the ramifications it had on his life and perspective. The book is called Mauled, Lessons from a Grizzly Bear Attack, and I caught up with Jeremy at his home in Calgary for a Zoom chat. Let's do this. So did you grow up in Alberta, or tell me about your youth? Have you been going out into the wild since you were, as long as you can remember?
Yeah, I grew up in Calgary, Alberta, and ever since I was a little kid, I grew up running around the bush like a wild man.
Yeah.
Started hunting at a very young age, and
Your folks were outdoorsy people, and
very.
right.
We did a lot of traveling and, like I said, a lot of hunting, camping, fishing, hiking.
Yeah. And you had brothers and sisters, or?
Yeah, I had two sisters, an older one and a younger one, and
Right.
an older brother.
So big family trips, out mostly into Alberta, or did you guys go all over the place?
We traveled all throughout Canada and the United States.
Right. And so when did you start hunting?
I started hunting pretty young. 5 years old is when I harvested my first deer. And then from there, it kind of took off. When I was 12 years old, I harvested my first deer with a bow and arrow. And kind of from 12 years old on, I was pretty much a dedicated bow hunter for quite a few years.
Awesome. And I mean, is there you're riding a mountain bike out there, you're hunting. What do you do in the winter to get your outdoor kicks?
I do a lot of ice fishing. I still do a lot of hunting in the wintertime.
Right.
Go after coyotes. There's cougars. A lot of cross country skiing.
Right.
The cold doesn't slow me down. I actually enjoy the cold much better than I do the summertime.
Nice, nice. So this book, you've got your book out, Mauled: Lessons Learned from a Grizzly Bear Attack. At the start of the book, you're out fishing with a buddy, and there's a section where you guys just walk down into the stream and catch a bull trout with your bare hands.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that tactic. How do you pull that off? It doesn't swim away?
Oh no, they do swim away. The creek was very shallow, and the way
Right.
it was, like, it was a pretty big fish for a very small for the creek and for the depth of the water. So we tried catching it at first, and then we're like, screw it, let's see if we can grab it. And of course we dove in and picked her up. That was fun.
Yeah, and there's a picture of that in the book. Beautiful, beautiful looking fish. So yeah, you're an avid fisherman, hunter, and you grew up in the outdoors. You're comfortable out there, obviously, from this book. Let's talk about this day that that the book's based on. You're going to go out. It's scouting for the opening of sheep season. Is that what it is, or?
That's correct. My plan was to go out a day ahead of time to get out there, get my camp set up, find my sheep, and then opening morning, hopefully get one.
And is that sort of like, that's what you do every year, sort of thing? That's part of your routine?
Kind of, yes. So this year in particular, I spent a lot of time out there in that area. I hunted that area for about 16 years prior to this event, and I would go out there every year, look for a sheep. I spend about a week, 2 weeks out there, and I've seen lots, passed up on a lot of sheep that you got to be legal. I think I have like 4/5 curl.
Right.
It's hard to judge them, and I was always too nervous to pull the trigger on one, because then if you shoot one that's too small, you get a little bit of trouble. So
yeah, of course,
took the safer bet. This year in 2017, I spent a lot of time all summer out there. I found the rams. I was watching, was in there every other week. This was my year to get a sheep. So I was very excited. I knew I was in there the week before. We saw the rams. They're in the same in the one back bowl. I was like, sweet, I can't wait for this, for opening day. So got up pretty early in the morning and drove on out. And I was, like I said, I was focused. I knew this was my time.
And it says you had 100-pound pack. So how long would you, regularly would you stay out there? Like until you got a sheep? Could it take a few days? Were you ready for a week out there, or?
This trip here was only for 4 days. I had 4 days off of work. So this was going to be a smaller trip.
Right.
Most of the time it's about 2 to 3 weeks I go in for.
And you're riding a bike, these areas that you like to go to, there's no vehicle access. When did you start mountain biking as part of your hunting technique?
Kind of from the start. I don't like driving. I don't have a quad. Even when I owned a quad, I'd leave in the back of my truck, go walk around everywhere. And when I shoot an animal, I drag it out and unload the quad to put the animal inside the truck. So I've always used a bicycle, just quieter. You can get in a lot of areas, pick them up, carrying them around. As long as I can remember, I used the bike. Right.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. So definitely, that there is that sense of, first of all, self-powered, but also, like you said, quieter. You're more part of the landscape rather than just kind of blasting through it.
Yeah, and the nice thing about a bike is when you're going up a hill, you can take your pack off, put it on your bike, and wheel your bike up the hill like a wheelbarrow. And
it's
a little bit easier and quicker.
So this day you get up early, you're biking out, your 14K bike out to your spot, and all of a sudden there's this shit moment where you see a grizzly cub, and obviously because you're an avid outdoors person, that where there's a cub, there's usually a mother.
Yep.
What about, like, what was that? I want to talk about that moment a little bit. Like, you all of a sudden everything's happening, and you said it sort of slowed down like the Matrix, but can you talk me through that moment to when all of a sudden the mother hits you?
It happened all quite fast, and like I said, it was very slow motion. So I got into the spot where I was. The willow brush kind of ends, and the trees kind of start to end, and the landscape becomes more open. And I was taking my time going through the trees, looking for sheep, make sure I find them before they find me. And I got my elbows on the handlebars. I spotted some sheep, take a look at them. When I moved the binoculars down, I just, oh crap, I knew exactly what it was at that moment. I just like, where's mama? And the first reaction was to grab my bear spray. And me being an idiot, I had it in the bottom of my backpack. So
yeah. And do you think that's just because you're in an area that you're so comfortable with, and you're going to be, I'll get it out when I get there kind of thing? Or like,
I always carried my bear spray on me on my hip or my chest. That morning I was just too excited. And I when I was getting out of my truck, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna throw my pack and ride my bike in there. Like, I haven't had a problem with a bear, seen very many bears in there.
yeah.
Even though the year before I got charged by a bear in that same area and sprayed it. This is just a total lapse in judgment. Like, I knew what to do. I just threw it in the bottom of my pack. And when I was reaching down to grab it out of my pack, I heard a branch break, and I look over my right shoulder, and it was already too late. She was arm's reach away.
Yeah.
I remember seeing her face, look on her face, the whites of her eyes. She had one of her front paws stretched straight out. You can see her claws. She's like reaching for me. I mean, at that moment, it just, holy crap. I just leaned aside and just moved my bicycle in front of her.
Yeah.
That's really all I could do. It happened so quick.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously, heavy trauma ensued, but is it difficult for you to talk about these things and to write this book? Or like, should we go, we don't want to give away everything in the book either, but should we get into the details of it a little bit, or how does that sit with you?
Yeah, that's fine with me. The trauma, it actually has been helping quite a bit to talk about it. Writing the book did have some ups and downs. There were some very difficult things to omit, put on paper, and share with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
It's getting a lot easier now to deal with it. Nightmares have stopped. It's definitely
right. I mean, this is back in 2017, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. So it's been a while. The book just came out this year, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah. So at one point you're getting attacked kind of repeatedly, and you decided to fight back. Was that just instinct, or were you like, okay, no, this is my only option? Or how was the thought process there?
It's really hard to play dead when something's chewing on your face.
Right.
I gotta say, when you're laying there and something's just chewing at you, there's a certain point where you just say, fuck it, I gotta do something. Like, I'm gonna die anyways. I might as well only I'll know what I can do, but I gotta try something. Like,
right.
Laying there getting chewed on is not fun.
So yeah, you had your hand in the bear's mouth, you were punching it in the underside.
In the nose, grabbing her ears, poking her eyeballs, everything I could get a hold of, I was trying to grab and poke.
Yeah.
And then it had like this moment when I'm laying there, and she come down so forcefully to bite me in the face again. The way she came down, it was perfect. Her mouth was wide open, my left arm. Yeah. It was a perfect moment. I punched right into her mouth. And then I can remember the feeling of her tongue. You feel like the bumps and the scars. And it kind of goes back like leather. Then you could feel the back of her throat. I had my hands shoved in her mouth, my index finger and middle finger down her throat. I wrapped my hands around her tongue, and then she was like choking, making horrible noises, and her mouth was partway down my forearm. I just remember looking up and seeing that, going, holy crap, like my hand's already in there. I was holding on. Me and my buddy always joked about, so if a bear is biting you, grab it by the tongue because it can't close its mouth, right?
Sure, yeah. And then you got to try it.
Yeah, I got to try it. And then her back legs were digging into my side, and I was like, well, this hurts. So I'm trying to push her off.
Yeah.
I mean, a bear doesn't quite move that easy.
And I mean, this bear has got to be, how heavy would you estimate?
About 350 pounds.
Yeah.
So about the average size of a female grizzly.
Right. Big though. Hard to move around. All muscle.
All muscle, solid muscle, no fat.
And then you would get a bit of, the bear would go away, and then you would be, but then it would come back. Yeah.
So the whole situation was 3 rounds. I break it down into 3 rounds.
Yeah.
The first round is where she came charging at me, and she got tangled on my bicycle, and I beat her up my backpack. And then she backed away, and I picked up my pack, tried to back up, try to get my gun or my bear spray out. As I was doing that, she turned around and came flying and came back. And I ditched my pack, ran, tried climbing a tree. And
right.
of course, we tussed around with the tree a little bit. And This just did a bunch of damage. With me shoving my hand down her throat and grabbing her by some sensitive areas, that actually put enough hurt on her that she left. And she left screaming like a pig, just like a deep, deep grunt, and she took off. Then I, got down to my pack and kind of dusted myself off, going, well,
And
that sucked.
were you feeling like she's gone, or did you have it in your mind that she could still come back again for round 3?
I thought she was gone.
Right.
It was quite a long time between round 2 and round 3, probably 7 to 10 minutes, I want to say, roughly.
Oh, wow. Okay. So yeah, really a long time.
So yeah, I'm sitting there and I'm looking at took a picture of myself, looking at my first aid kit, like, well, nothing in here is going to help. And what do you do? And as I'm sitting there calmly leaning against a log, got my gun out, going, well, this sheep hunt is, basically is going to turn into a bear hunt now. And and this sucks. Like I spent a lot of time, and this is my year to get a sheep, and now I got this to deal with. And
yeah, I mean, obviously you're still in shock a little bit, right?
I wasn't really in shock. I was more ticked off. I was just mad that this happened, and now I have to go home.
Yeah. And your injuries, like at that point, still pretty bad though, right?
They were pretty severe. My face wasn't totally removed. It was hanging down. There was my left eye was hanging out of its socket. Majority of the skin was on my head. There was pieces peeled down. It was pretty severe, but it got much worse after when she came back.
She came back, and then that was the worst. And then eventually you kind of were able to, get your legs around her and scare her off for good.
Yeah, correct. And one of the things that we figured out, reason why she kept coming back, was where I was. There was a drainage on the one side of me and a cliff in the front. There was a creek and then the cliff. Well, her cub ran down on the bottom of the drainage, and every time she kept coming back, I was in her way.
Right.
She was just trying to get to her cub, and of course I'm in her way. She's trying to drag me out of the way, or I'm a threat. She's trying to take it out.
Yeah, crazy. So then, now you're really beaten up and chewed on and lying there, and like you can hardly see, and you have to make a decision to either call it a day or to try and live. Or what was that moment like after when you're just there having to be, okay, now what?
That was a hard decision. I sitting there on the mountainside, I of course debated a lot of things, and you have to read the book for the full details.
We don't want to give away too much.
It was a hard decision. Like, I knew I wasn't going to make it out. And so my only goal the whole time was just to make it far enough down the trail that somebody would find me easier, so my wife wouldn't have to wait around to figure out what happened.
Right.
So that was all. I didn't think much far ahead than make it 10 feet down the trail, make it to the next trail crossing. So I was always taking those small steps and just biting off a little bit at a time.
And were you walking or crawling or sort of a bit of both?
A little bit of both. In the beginning, there was a lot of standing up and falling, tumbling down mountainsides, drainages, lots of crawling. And then when my legs started to seize up and tighten up a little bit, I was able to stand and basically drag and stumble around.
And it would have we're talking like hours to get out of there, right? Or
yes, quite a few hours.
Yeah. And you mentioned at one point you play a song on your phone, or a song comes into your head, Baby Shark. And was that just, and then it was just running on repeat the whole time?
Yeah, I was on my phone. So when I fell down the one drainage, it was pretty devastating. And, I'm laying there all mangled up, and pull up my phone and figure, heck, I'm going to play some music and take a nap. And you can't see what you're doing. It's just hitting the screen, and the iPhone's got the nice colorful icons, so just hitting on them and just tapping the screen, hopefully play some music. And a song that came on was Baby Shark.
And you have a kid at this point, a young kid back at home.
Yeah, my daughter this time was very young, 6 months old at the time, and and that's the song we used to play when she was upset. That come on, and of course, it has to be on repeat, and I can't see to turn it off. But that song played for a good, I want to say 7.5, 8 hours solid on repeat.
Wow. So it was actually playing. It wasn't just you heard it and then it was playing in your head.
No, it played repeat the whole entire time. My phone was in my pocket. Actually, when I got in my truck, I guess it was cranked so loud. when they came to pick up my truck, I mean, that was just cranked and playing. They're like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you're
Crazy. The reason I focus on that is because it's another great survival story, Touching the Void by Joe Simpson. He falls off a mountain, breaks his leg, and has to crawl out of a crevasse and crawls off a mountain in the Andes for 3 days. And at one point, he's like, he has this Boney M song just going through his head on repeat. And it reminded me about this story of yours and how, like, the stupidest little, rhythm or whatever can kind of help propel us forward through these crazy survival stories.
Yeah, the song just hit a nerve, and
Yeah.
and it just
It probably reminds you of your family too, and gives you, the inspiration to keep clawing the next 10 feet.
yeah, and it's an awesome song too, right?
It's definitely catchy. So you crawl out of there and you come to this outfitter tent, and it's a pretty, poignant part of the book is, you're in there trying to find anything and you end up writing a letter because you're still at this point, you don't think you're going to make it out. So you're trying to, tell my wife I love her and that kind of stuff. And
yeah.
what's that right to write that note? Like, what's going through your mind then?
It was, writing the apology part for making the mess was easy, but
Yeah.
on the back there, like, hey, like, tell my wife I tried. That was pretty hard to put down.
Yeah.
And then just to leave it there, and at that camp, I left my gun, I left everything I had on me. There's just my shorts and my t-shirt that I had on. Everything else I left there. Like, I gave everything up.
Yeah.
Not going to carry no more. And
you knew someone was going to find whatever you left there because it's a used camp.
Yeah, and there was always somebody in there every 48 hours or more, and so I knew someone's going to find it. And if they didn't find me, at least they got that part.
Yeah, but then what was like what you could have stayed there too and rolled over, but you decided to keep going anyhow.
That's correct. So when I lay in there, I tried to make. They had the fireplace was all set up. They had that's what I like about this outfitter. Their stoves are always set up. They have fire starters in there, matches, lighters, everything all ready to go. And so, I lay down the sleeping bag and got it all stretched out, go to light a fire, and then Baby Shark keep playing over and over. And then I was like, you know what, screw it. Let's see how far I can make it. Let's just just try to make it out of there, just in case the outfitters are coming down with their horse and buggy.
Sure.
It was just.
So you kept pushing on, and then the next thing would be to get to the truck, I guess. How far was it from that tent to where you eventually got to the truck?
It was about 5 miles, a little over 7 kilometers.
Right.
And I just knew it was in miles because there's a mile marker. It's an old well road and all growing in, and there's little markers and signs. So I kind of knew.
And as this is happening, were you like still kind of worried that that bear or something else could still jump out at you?
No, I wasn't worried about that at all. Like,
right.
When I started walking out, when I first started, everything that was dark got 3 bullets. It didn't matter what it was, any dark shape, any dark.
Yeah. Any motion.
I got 3 bullets, and the part of the trail at the end there is a little safer. It's flatter. It's not really bear habitat. There's never really seen anything in there. I call that like the safe stretch. It's so I felt pretty safe, pretty confident that there's nothing in there.
Yeah. And then you got to the truck, you drive back to
Panther River Resort.
Yeah, it's like a lodge or
it's a lodge you can camp at. They got cabins you can stay in.
Okay,
do horseback riding.
So, and you knew there's going to be people there, and these are people that that you've met before, right?
The weekend before, me and my wife stayed out there overnight. So I kind of knew the people. I knew the place. I didn't really know the people per se. But it's a tiny little driveway. Now it's a big lot. You can definitely find the place, but it's like a little tiny driveway. And if you're not paying attention, you could miss it. Right. I don't know how on earth I pulled into there. And the funny part is the parking lot was pretty full. And I tried parking my vehicle in between 2 others, and I couldn't see and I couldn't tell.
Yeah.
And I was trying to be polite. And it's like, screw it, I'll just drive right up to the lodge, past the signs you're not supposed to go. And
well, I mean, you're obviously it's being polite and being kind to others seems like it was a priority of yours. Sorry I made a mess in this tent. I'm trying to follow the parking rules. But even when you got to that lodge, did you start to feel like, was there a point then, or even when you got to the truck where you're like, shit, I might make it out of here on my own?
When well, the part that where I knew I was going to make it is when the last hill to climb. There's two rocks on the hill,
Yeah.
and they're always in the way. My bike, I'd ride my bike down, and I was always too lazy to move them. But when I got up to the hill and I got to those rocks, I was like, I knew at that point I was going to make it. So give them a little kiss, a little tap on the rocks, and
Yeah.
I knew I was going to make it from there. Once I got to my truck, I was pretty excited. I hop in my truck, sitting in the front seat, started up, look out the windshield. Well, I can't see the end of the hood.
Yeah,
Look out
because
the
you've got
window.
like your your eye is hanging out and pieces of your head are flopping around. And
Yeah, my left eye was hanging out of the socket, hanging down. In order for me to look forward, I either had to pick it up and kind of move it or tilt my head back.
dude,
Uh,
does that
yeah,
work? You could aim your eye and you would
yeah,
be able to see?
yeah, because my whole skin was off my face.
Wow.
My skull and my eye sockets are completely busted. So like I can move it and you can see, but
Right.
it's kind of creepy.
Yeah, for sure.
I didn't
So
think I had a right eye at that time because my right eye was rolled back and up into my head.
right.
So I didn't think I had a right eye.
So I mean, pretty good even to drive a vehicle at all, let alone, it was 16 kilometers down a twisty road.
Yeah, and I thought I totally destroyed my truck because it felt like all bumps and I was hitting
Right.
stuff, but I guess there wasn't a scratch on it from what everybody's told me.
It's so you run in, you're back in civilization. A helicopter comes, gets you to the hospital. Everyone's, astounded about the field dressing that you've done and the fact that you've able to, you know, crawl hours and hours and hours out of the wilderness. What do you remember from that sort of like point of getting to the lodge to like waking up in the hospital, or do you remember the whole thing all the way in? Or
I remember the whole entire thing, every little detail. Even on the 5th anniversary, me and my wife were back in there doing some fishing, and we're walking down the trail. I'm like, yeah, I fell down that ditch. I crawled here. I remember that tree. I remember this rock. And my wife was actually, she's like, wow, it was the first time she's been back in there in a while.
yeah,
And she was like, wow, I can't believe it was like a play-by-play. So she's taking pictures with me with things, and she goes, I like this. It's like a play-by-play of what happened and seeing what you went through. And
yeah. Your brain really was taking in all that information, even though it was, in survival mode.
Yeah.
A lot of the book talks about, just the care that you were given, obviously the nurses and the surgeons and everyone at the hospital. We get to kind of get their perspectives as well. What do you remember most about that recovery process, or what sticks with you the most from that?
I had some very good nurses. There was quite a few nurses in there that look after me that really spent a lot of care and attention. I had two of them. We used to have a 5 a.m. date, and my eyes would swell shut and it'd be covered in goopies. So every morning they'd come out and they'd clean my eyes.
Yeah.
And then if I had visitors coming, they would shave and trim my mustache up and try to shave it and make me look pretty, help me put my nice plaid shirt on. There's a few of them that really dedicated a lot of time and would come and see and hang out. Huge impact. I mean, there's some very great nurses out there.
I mean, bear attacks, they capture the public interest a lot, right? I think it's a primal fear, almost hard coded into humans, to be afraid of things that can eat you. It feels like you were able to kind of slide under the radar with media. You weren't doing interviews and stuff in the hospital, or
no, I wasn't really supposed to make it.
right.
As soon as they got me into the hospital, my wife called a very good friend of mine who kind of deals with, he's a social worker, so he kind of deals with this kind of stuff. So immediately they put me on full lockdown. They had a password system because we knew media was going to come in and try to attack try to interview. They had me full lockdown. If you went to the hospital, try looking for me, like my parents tried to find me and they couldn't figure out where I was because no one would tell them.
Right.
It was completely, there's only, I think, 4 visitors that were allowed to see me, and it was a sign in, sign out. And anytime somebody was asking questions in the hallway, they would call security, remove them. It was completely locked down.
And the idea was just to protect you because this is a traumatic event. They don't need people poking their fingers into you kind of thing.
Yeah, they didn't need to be poking the bear anymore.
Totally. Your wife Joyce plays a big role in this book and in this story and obviously in your life. But can you talk about, that first moment when you got to see her after, now you're safe, you're in the hospital and she arrives?
It was about a week or so until I could see her, but
Right.
hearing her voice and having her there, she was always at the foot of the bed. My feet were the only thing that weren't damaged.
Yeah.
And so she was constantly sitting there massaging my feet. They trained my body inside the hospital. Every time I'd have a flashback or nightmare, they would squeeze my feet, tell me I'm in a safe place.
Right.
And so that was one of my ways of really helping, having my wife there, my good friend there doing that. And it was very good to have her there. That meant a lot, but with a young child and her being there every day, it took a huge toll on her. And
Sure.
that was,
Well, I mean, the book, it's partially a love story too, right? And about, how this terrible event, played a role in your relationship and strengthened what was already there. It reads like, it's when it came time to write this story and you have a co-writer, Crosby Cotton, was she happy to be involved? She has her journal entries in the book. Was she, did she want to keep it? Was she into it or?
she was open to the idea. When I asked her, she's like, yeah, I can put some stuff in there. And
Yeah. And were you thinking about a book, early on, or how did the idea to tell this story in print come together?
well, kind of at first, I kind of want to be like, hey, man, I'm the guy that got mauled by the bear. And then talking with some people, they're like, no, there's no story here. And, it's no big deal. And I kind of took it at that way as, who wants to read about a guy that gets mauled by the bear and walks out? Like nothing really
Yeah.
that bad happened. Crosby came along, and talking with him, I talked to him first, and we were introduced to each other by my former employer. And we talked, and he's like, well, I got to do some research about this. So was it
Right.
like 6 months to a year later, he'd come back to me and he's like, I'd like to write about you. I'm like, well, there's really nothing here. I mean, and he kind of broke it down and said, well, I want to approach this from more of an inspirational way.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that you did that no one else does or thinks of. And then he started breaking it down into, at first it wasn't the lessons, but breaking it down to hey, you made little goals and you made it all the way. Like you did this for your family. Like you were totally inspired. You never gave up. Like you had all these challenges that you overcame. And this is what we need to showcase on the book. This is what people need to hear this. It'll hopefully help.
The lessons, it's not, here's lessons for out being in grizzly bear country, right? They're more like lessons for life in general. Yeah. When you're, in the hospital, people are grabbing your feet, you're having nightmares and flashbacks. Like, what was that like? How long did those last? And I mean, I'm sure they were pretty intense.
They lasted throughout the whole entire hospital up until March of last year.
And is there a process? How did you get rid of them?
So very long process. I sought therapy right away inside the hospital. We tried things in there. Worked out with therapists every day. Getting out, we got under control. Looking for triggers, right? I was keeping diary entries. So how was the stress in the day? How much sleep did I got? Food, anything new that came up, or when I had a flashback, what was I doing?
Right.
Was there different smells? Was there certain sounds? And once we started figuring those out, we were able to get it under control. For a period of time, it was good, and then it would just relapse. And it got to the point where I was sleeping maybe 12 hours a week.
Right.
So constant. I was getting them through the day, at night. My wife would always, wake me up, squeezing my feet. I'd fall asleep on the couch, and of course, my daughter would come in, and her first instinct is to jump on daddy because it's fun.
Yeah.
And then I can't close my eyes. Like this is me closing my eyes.
Right.
So they think I'm awake. And one day she come running in, and my wife, unloading stuff, groceries or whatever, and I'm sleeping on the couch, and my daughter comes in and she pounces on me like she normally does. Of course, I'm sound asleep, and that put me into a full-blown flashback, and I ended up knocking my daughter across the room.
Yeah, instinctually.
Yeah, and that that was hard because you never want to do that. And that was,
No. And then do you feel like, man, I'm never going to be rid of this?
yeah, there was lots of that. And then my therapist recommended I try, or we're going to try ART, uh, accelerated rapid therapy. ART is the word
Right,
for
right.
it. And I was like, oh, yeah, I want to, let's try it. Right. I got into a CART specialist, and we did a half hour or so meet and greet and how are you? Um, and it's just like, well, then we'll start. I did 45-minute session, and that was the first night I slept 7-8 hours solid, no
Right.
nightmares.
And is that a thing with like watching lights with your eyes, or is that something different?
That's something different. That could be part of it. What they were doing with me is waving their hand in front of my face, and I was
Yeah.
going over the scenes, and then um, where do you feel the discomfort or pressure? And
Right.
then you'd think about that and breathe into that space, and basically like a total brain reset is what I
Yeah.
kind of call
Yeah.
it.
Rewire the brain.
Yeah.
And I mean, this sort of thing is, I don't think that it's new techniques, but it's certainly a generation ago, even going to a therapist was considered, oh, that's for someone else, right? How did you have any of that sort of, that typical old school of thinking as you're doing this, or it feels like you're pretty open?
I'm pretty open. I had a good friend a long time ago. I was going through some struggles in life earlier.
Yeah.
I had ADHD we didn't know about, and I was doing some stupid things. And he took me to a doctor one day. He kind of convinced me to go there. And he said, I told the doctor, my friend here is experiencing this and this and this. And I'm stood there, and I had the chance to run when I stayed. And I go, well, what I'm doing right now is not working. Let's listen.
Yeah.
And that turned my life around. So then when it come to therapy, that's the first thing I ask for is, like, I need help. Like,
Yeah. Good.
yeah.
And that's one of the that's one of the messages in the book as well, is to sort of like,
Yeah,
chip away at whatever's left of that stigma around
yeah,
asking for help.
asking for help is not it's asking for psychiatric help is not a downfall. It's a strength. Like there's so many things that they can help you with, and you can achieve great things, right?
Yeah. So I liked how, once you're able to get out of the hospital, right, you're right back at the shooting range. And then once you're released, you're back hunting. What was there those first few days or weeks going back into the wild? Was that nerve-wracking, or was it, I mean, your wife was with you, you guys were camping. Was it healing? Was it nerve-wracking? Was it both?
I was pretty excited and pretty happy to be back out there. I was actually more relieved that I can do it.
Right.
I was worried that I wouldn't be able to do it again. The areas that we went in weren't anywhere bear country, so it's just good to get out there and like, hey, I can still hold a gun up. I shot a deer the first time out, and it was just, wow, I can do this again. And my eyes are a little messed up, my legs weren't quite working, nothing was really working, but
Yeah.
I was able to get out there and do it and keep working at it. And that was this is a huge goal, a huge achievement.
Yeah, I bet. And a work in progress over the next little while too, right? Like, I mean, obviously your shot was still pretty good.
Yeah, it was very rewarding. I mean, things had to be close so I can hit them, but that was rewarding. And the following year, going after a non-trophy sheep in the same area, that was another. Like I didn't want to give up. I wanted to get out there, and I just wanted to conquer it again. I wanted to prove to myself that I can do it.
Yeah.
Even going up there and going on that sheep hunt, tough. I definitely was not in shape. I was not in anywhere good shape for it, but I did it. I conquered it. I felt so good about it. And I can't wait to go do it again.
What about, a year later, whatever, you went back to the actual site, and how was that? Like you said, you remembered everything very vividly. Was it they never found that bear, right? So was there any like, oh, it could still be out there kind of thing, or?
I wasn't worried. When we flied in, the game wardens went in first, and then they flew me and my wife in second. Going to the scene, it kind of brought back some pretty fresh memories. Going through it, the one thing that bothered me the most is I was sitting, leaning against the rotten log, the same log where the bear came back the third time. I was sitting there leaning against the log, and one of the game wardens was walking through the bush, kind of zigzagging through, looking for my glasses were they're trying to see if we can find him.
Right.
And he was walking through the bush, and I went into a flashback. I grabbed my bear spray, went to a flashback, and everybody stopped. They're like, "Oh shit." Because I was a little, I guess, kind of traumatizing almost.
Yeah, yeah, re-traumatizing almost.
Yeah, and so everybody paused. We took a break, and then I had to just see what was going on, but not being able to focus and hearing that noise behind me. It just, yeah, it brought me right back into that moment.
Crazy. So now you have two kids. They're still pretty young, your kids, but have you talked about this part of your life with them, or?
Yeah, my daughter asked lots of questions about bears, and she goes, "Daddy, you fight bears." And we were bike riding this summer, and I was pulling a trailer with my son, and my wife had one of those ride along bikes where you attach to a bike.
Yeah.
And we're going up a hill, and I pass them, and my daughter says to my wife, she goes, "How come Daddy's beating you? He got chewed up by a bear and he's broken."
Well, if she doesn't know the answer to that, it's that you're bloody tenacious, and you got the fire in you for sure. Did you ever feel any ill will to the bear, or the stupid bear? Obviously, when you're actually fighting it, that's something different. But do you blame afterwards? Do you blame the bear, or?
I don't blame the bear at all. I mean, we were both doing the right thing. I didn't get. I wasn't bugging her. She wasn't bugging me.
Yeah.
I got between them, or they got between me. However you want to look at it, they're just doing. She was just doing what a bear does.
Yeah.
She did nothing wrong. I mean, we got between each other, and yeah, I deserved what I got, I guess.
Well, yeah, I guess poor luck.
Yeah, I mean, she's protecting her young. She thought I was a threat, and
yeah.
Yeah.
What about, there are bear movies, right? There was the famous one with Leo DiCaprio, The Revenant. Like if you're watching one of these movies, if something comes on and you see these bear movies, like, do you avoid them, or do you check them out to see if, that's not really how it is, or is it?
Yeah. I actually watched The Revenant in the hospital, and I was watching. I got to that bear scene, and I replayed it a bunch of times. Like, yeah, that guy's a wuss. Like that. That's nothing.
So it's not traumatizing then to see that sort of thing.
At first, when I'd see a bear come on TV or documentary about a bear, it used to bother me a little bit, and I'd have nightmares about it, or nightmares about bears.
Yeah.
But I did the ART session, the one session, and I think 2 weeks after that session, me and my daughter were playing Big Game Hunter, Cabela's Big Game Hunter. And we're up in the Arctic, and we're chasing caribou. And of course, I didn't read the game or anything. I haven't played in so long. And we're walking through the bush. A bear jumps on you, starts chewing on you.
Wow.
And so I'm like, holy crap. My wife's like, oh crap, this is going to be a rough night. So we fought the bear, got it all done. And then I told Abby, like, it's, time to shut it off. And that night, my wife she stayed up all night thinking I was going to have lots of nightmares, but I didn't have any. It was that was a huge relief after doing that one session ART. Wow, like this is amazing.
And so that the nightmares and stuff pretty much have stopped then. Did you have to do a bunch more sessions, or was that one session enough?
I did 3 sessions total. We did 2 over the 2 of them about the bear incident, and then 1 about everyday work and stresses with life, kind of.
Right.
That worked really well. So that was March of last year. Since then, I had a few minor nightmares, 3 to 4 minor nightmares around August and September. Just all the interviews and
right, yeah. As you're promoting the book, and have you been offered, like, talking to kids and doing presentations for companies or stuff like that?
I have been approached. I got to let little things calm down with the interviews first before I can start focusing on that.
Yeah, for sure. You co-wrote the book with Crosby, but you have writing in this book. Was that something that you had done before as when you were younger, or is this your first sort of foray into writing?
This is my first foray into writing.
Right. How was it? Challenging or easier than you thought, or what?
it was challenging. It was just trying to find the right words to get it out there. I
Yeah.
actually started writing when I was in the hospital. I think it was like 2 weeks in or 3 weeks into 2 weeks into the hospital. I started writing in a journal, writing down every time I'd have a nightmare, I'd write down what happened in it, and then I'd build off of that. So when it actually came time to give it to Crosby, I had like 30 pages already written.
Right.
And I just had to find the proper sentence structure, and it
Sure,
was
sure.
pretty mumble jumbled.
Yeah, well, I mean, but it's in your voice. The writing's strong. I mean, it comes through great. Uh, so you spend, most of your life basically in the wilderness. I think there hasn't been a grizzly hunt in Alberta in a long time, right? I thought I read since 2006,
Yeah, it sounds about right.
and in BC it's been since 2017. Does it feel like, there's more bears out there? Like, they have such a large range that they need. Do you think they're going to see more interactions with humans, as time goes on, because there's going to be more bears just in the areas?
Yeah, I think that's going to have some part in it. And another thing, when the grizzly bear is the king of the forest, it's not afraid of anything. Before, when we hunted them, I believe that when we hunted them, when you shoot at something, they kind of learn quick,
Right.
and so they haven't been hunted or pressured or chased around. So they're, I guess, a little more not afraid.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think there'd probably be more, but also too, the amount of people that are out in the bush now walking around, hiking. I mean, Kananaskis country, you never used to see hardly anybody. Now you go out there, you see 500 cars out there in a normal parking lot. So there's a lot more people in the bush.
Yeah.
The bear population may have increased, decreased. I haven't really paid attention, but I think the more people in there is probably what we're going to see more encounters.
Yeah. And I mean, out here, it's, especially after COVID, going out in the bush was like the only thing you're allowed to do. Right. So
Yeah.
what do you think? I mean, part of the appeal of the bush is to be alone with your solitude and with nature. But obviously, the more people that go out there, the harder that becomes. But the more people that go out there, the more they hopefully respect it. What do you think about that line between, too many people out there or people not trained to be out there properly? Or, is overcrowding probably not the areas where you go? It's not a problem.
Yeah, I think it's going to start getting to a problem.
Right.
There's definitely a lot of overcrowding in some areas.
Yeah,
I avoid that. I like my solitude when I'm out there hunting.
totally. Of course. You're an outdoorsman, the first thing you did was get back into these places that you love. What, you and your family camp, you fish, you hunt. What do you love the most about, being out in the wild?
I guess the fresh air and just the wide open spaces, the scenery. Just it's hard to explain. It's just when you take a deep breath and it's all clean and you don't hear anything, you just hear the wind or the trees. It's relaxing for me. It's just like a whole weight of stress off my shoulders.
Yeah, yeah. So what's happening for you next? The book's done. You've been doing a lot of promotion. It's not like there's not going to be a sequel, but what's your next, project?
I think starting to do more of the motivational speaking, getting into that, share. I've had about a half a dozen or so companies approach me wanting me to do speaking engagements and go through my life lessons learned. I think I wanted to start going that approach. My wife always joked about when I was in high school that I'd be a storyteller when I grew up.
Right. Well, there you go. She was right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, the book's called Mauled Lessons from a Grizzly Bear Attack. Jeremy, thanks so much for your time, man. It's been great. What an incredible story, and it's been great to connect face to face.
Thanks. It's been I enjoyed this. A lot of fun.
Awesome, man. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great day.
You too.
Okay, right? What a crazy story of survival, and what an awesome guy. Jeremy's book is out now at your local bookstore or from Rocky Mountain Books. It's a fast read, but it's a good one. There's a lot of real wisdom in there from a dude who had to stare absolute darkness in the face with one eye and actively decide to keep giving her. So yeah, pick that up if you want more of this story. Other than that, happy holidays, Mountain Lifers. Stay warm, stay dry. Don't forget about the Mountain Life store on our website. I actually love it when I'm out on the street or on the trail or the hill and I see someone wearing Mountain Life gear. A lot of time spent putting the magazine together and these podcasts even. It's just me sitting at a desk full of clutter, 3 screens, banging away at a keyboard, and you never really know if it's going to connect to anyone at all or if it's going to click. So it's nice to know that you're out there, Mountain Lifers. Thanks for reading and listening. Thanks for representing the Live It Up vibe. Take care of each other this holiday season. Be patient, be kind, and don't be afraid to just get up from the table and go for a walk outside. We'll catch you soon.